First thing, let's talk Jeff Choate. Nevada hires Jeff Choate. Who is he? Former defensive coordinator, co-defensive coordinator at Texas. Previously, before that, he was the head coach at Montana State. He's been all across the West, though. He's actually been everywhere. He was at Washington, he was at Florida, Washington State, Boise State, Utah State. He's kind of been everywhere, right? But so what's he done so far since he's been in as a coach? See, I'll let you talk about his staff. Actually, he's brought in a little bit. I know that's your thing.
And that's the staff. Well, he's obviously had to hire a lot of things. There was only one mainstay from the previous staff, and that was Virgil Green. You might know that name if you are a tight end fan or an NFL fan. He
Hey,
played 10
yeah,
years for the Broncos and some other teams as well. Very, very respected guy. Of course, he's going to keep him there. He's a Nevada guy himself, through and through. Obviously, big time, retainment for Choate. Um,
Choate.
Jeff Choate as well. I did that right in the preview video, but yeah, and then they got some guys, Brian Armstrong on the O line. So a lot of Choate stuff, it was all about keeping guys he knows personally and the guys he's worked with before, whether he's coached them or whether he's coached with them at times in different overlaps. Um, with that, actually, the exception is Virgil Green. But obviously he knows all about him as a Nevada guy himself. Brian Armstrong, the O line coach, I love this. He was at Montana State with Choate all 5 seasons for there, and I'm in their offensive coordinator. He was their O line coach at Fresno State this past year. Very good guy. Obviously, we got to send our thoughts and prayers out to Matt Lubbock. He's their offensive coordinator. Hire. He's a guy battling leukemia right now. Hopefully, everything works out well with them. Obviously, prayers up to him and his family, and he's going to do great. He's going to battle it through it, but obviously, very scary situation for there. Much bigger than football, but for the time being, it'll be Mike Lynch and David Gilbertson. Kind of doing offense coordinator, running back, quarterback, wide receiver kind of stuff there. James Price as well in that kind of mix on the offensive staff, and it's for the defense. You're gonna have Kane Ione, right? He was the DC for Choate in Montana State. Obviously, Choate himself is a defense coordinator, very much experience there. Um, Ione was just at Boise State, so he's got that Mountain West experience, which is very important in this scenario. And then to round it out, Parker Henry, another guy, special teams coordinator that I do really like. He played under Choate at Washington State back when he was there under Mike Leach. Is another guy I really do like. I do like his coaching staff. I think he was able to build one, and that stems from the people he was able to learn under, right? The coaches that he got through, going all the way back to Boise State with Chris Peterson, right? Then it was Mike Leach in Washington State, back with Chris Peterson again at Washington. Went over to Will Muschamp in Florida. I don't know. Will Muschamp was not the most successful guy at Florida, but he's very, very smart defensively. Ask Kirby Smart there. His defenses at Georgia.
Correct.
And then also Steve Sarkisian, obviously, this past couple seasons at Texas. And so it's been, I think I really love the hire because he's had success everywhere he's been defensively, right? And he's also had a lot of success as a head coach at a place like Montana State, which I love there, making the FCS playoffs and making a little run in 2019 with his final year there.
Yeah, and I mean, if you've followed that FCS football for the last couple of years, you would know that Montana State is really good. But when Jeff Choate got there, they really worked. They improved every single year that he got there. And when he left that program, right, Brett Vision, he comes in and all of a sudden it's booming and popping. And so Jeff Choate, I think, left that program at 20 and 22, something like that. And then his replacement is now 24 and 5 because Choate left that program in such a good spot. So I don't think that he still has head coaching experience. I don't think that people look at that record and maybe, oh, he was only 20 and 22 at Montana State. It's like, well, he kind of put that program in a way better spot. He built it up, had talent there when he left. He left to go take a promotion at Texas as a defensive coordinator. Like that was a promotion to him. He was getting paid a lot more. Still is not getting paid a ton to be at Nevada. I know you had some details on his contract a little bit that you wanted to share.
Yeah, so it's going to be so it's 5 years, $5.7 million contract, which for Nevada is a big time contract, right? In their history, he is obviously the highest paid coach of all time, which is good for him, good for Choate and his family. They're still ninth out of the 11 coaches that actually list their salaries. Air Force, this is Troy Calhoun's, is the only unknown, but we do assume that he's pretty well up there, and he does well for himself there. So 10 out of 12 is not where you want to be coaching salary wise, uh, uh coaching assistant coordinators, coaching pool, and all that other stuff. That's not where you want to be able to compete in today's game. But guess what? I believe in Choate and his ability to do that. Real quick, you mentioned Montana State. Now he finished his last 2 seasons there 19-9. Right. That if that's like it's gonna take a couple years here at Nevada. I mean, they just went 4-20 the past 2 years. It's gonna take a couple years. Ken Wilson didn't get that time, right? We'll
Which
see
I
what
thought he,
Choate
which
did.
I thought he would. I mean, when Jay Norvell left, that roster was decimated. It was decimated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had guys like Romeo Dobbs off to the NFL. You had guys like Clay Millen at quarterback. He left. You had guys like Dan Henley at linebacker. He left to go to Washington State. A guy like Torrey Horton, who's one of the best wide receivers in college football. He left to go to Colorado State. I mean, it was a mess of a roster when Ken Wilson got there.
Well, and Wilson spent what almost 22 years there at Nevada himself before being a head coach. Right, come back in 2022. And so yeah, if anyone was going to get the time to wait there and see if it actually works, it would have been him. But obviously the administration there didn't believe in him, and they made a move, and they felt they could get Choate, then
Yeah, I will
they
say
get it
that
done.
the recruiting classes, like, what is the expectation in Nevada, right? And why did Ken Wilson get fired? Okay. It, this program has not been, despite having actual talent in state, right? They have not, and you're right there with California too. Scrape, you can scrape up a pretty decent class as a G5 team if you are near California. Top 85 is kind of where they've been, and with Ken Wilson, they weren't even top 85, right? So that was an issue. So I can understand like getting ahead of that. If you don't believe in a guy, if your administration doesn't believe in a guy, get rid of him and bring in someone that can maybe recruit a little bit better. I don't know if Jeff Choate can recruit at the FBS level nowadays really highly, but you know what? He's gonna have to a little bit, you know, especially like if Barry Odom has UNLV cooking it the way it does, right? What are the expectations with Nevada? It's, you know, I guess a bowl game is kind of your expectation. If you're a fan, you can kind of probably expect a bowl game from Nevada, right? Competing in the Mountain West, which is not necessarily the best conference out there. Win some of those games against bottom feeders, but the reality is like you yourself are a bottom feeder, especially in the situation that the program is in right now. You're a bottom feeder, right? You were paying your coach only $1.1 million, which yeah, sure, that's a lot of money, but not in the grand scheme of things for college football coaches at all, especially in the Mountain West. So that's tough. It's hard to compete when you don't have the resources that some of these other schools have. And you would think Nevada as a state school in the state of Nevada, where you have okay talent. Yeah, you're not going to land a 5-star from Bishop Gorman. Sure, you're not going to do that. But there are other talented players in the state of Nevada and California that you can snag.
Well, it's tough though because they are in northern Nevada, so a little bit less talent up there. Obviously, not as far, not as close to Las Vegas where UNLV is. Right, you look at their rivals. Why was Ken Wilson fired? The rivals, UNLV, Barry Odom went in there right away and won very well, very successful. Boise State obviously doing their thing, just won the Mountain West with an interim head coach. San Jose State obviously playing pretty darn well. We love how they're clicking, when that program's doing, and then Fresno State as well. I mean, they're continuously a powerhouse in the Mountain West. It's tough. It's tough to compete with those things and to give your coach these unfair expectations when they just don't have the resources to, right? And I don't know what it is. I don't know what the problem there is at Nevada administratively, talent wise, coaching wise. Maybe Choate needs to go in there and push all the right buttons, and then maybe they get it done there. But yeah, it's frustrating to see because in this transport era, you have to be getting all the rejects from the power from the Pac-12, or now that they're all going to Big 12, but you have to be getting guys that want to come back locally to the West Coast, and you have to be like first ones at the door, like, hey, we missed you in high school,
Keep
you
those
overlooked us,
or
but
keep those relationships that you had, guys that maybe you were the first one to offer, and then all of a sudden UCLA comes in and offers them.
well, you
Keep
get
those
it
relationships.
exactly, get in early, and even if you know you have no chance to win this recruitment, keep battling, keep getting on know the kid, keep getting for them to know you and whatnot, and so when he does enter the portal, his first thing is, hey, Nevada, let me call them. Let me call Choate and staff there and see what he can do. But yeah, you mentioned the recruiting there has not been what it is. And unfortunately, like the the program's not in a great spot talent wise. I don't think. I think they do have long ways to go to be competing in the Mountain West for a bowl game because I do think that is the the standard there is to be at least making bowl games once you get clicking. It's going to take a couple years. Hopefully, they give him that time. I don't know how short the leash is. I do assume the buyout he would have had a lot of guarantees in his contract and whatnot,
Well, yeah, it is guaranteed. It's all his entire contract's guaranteed, or something like that,
which is I
or
guess
just $1 million at least is guaranteed. Like, I think a lot of it's guaranteed. I think they want to believe in him, right? They want to believe in him. So I'm all right with that. In terms of grades, what kind of grade am I giving Choate? Well, we talk about we can't give grades without expectations. We talked about our expectations a little bit. A bowl game and a top 85 recruiting class, right? Can he meet those? I'd give him a B, like a B for if you can meet expectations. A, if you exceed expectations. C, if you can't meet those expectations. I think Jeff Choate, if you give him enough time, can meet those expectations, right? I think the resources are pretty limited. I don't have a ton of knowledge about him as a recruiter. I know he's been on the West Coast, so he knows the landscape a little bit. He knows his high schools. I'll give it a B. I'll give it a solid B. And Nevada, you're not going to get a ton of high name, high profile coaches to come in there. You know, I think there's some other hires that, we'll talk about one particularly in a little bit, but there are other hires that you could have made. Like if you want someone who's like an innovator on the offensive side of the ball, you kind of need to go younger. But I think Nevada was like, let me get someone who's experienced with head coaching. Someone who's a little bit older, not too much older. He's not super old, but someone that you can come in and you know that they're going to be well coached. Give them a chance. So just my assumption though is if they're giving him the money, they're going to give him the time. So I think he can meet expectations. I'll give it a solid B.
I do believe so as well. I'll stick with a B there. I think in year three, you really look him to turn around, make a bowl game, start recruiting well, utilizing the transfer portal and all that comes with it. It obviously, but it shows just the state of this program when Jay Norvell has a couple successful years and then leaves to Colorado State, and that's because you're not paying your coaches in large part, right? Or the resources aren't there, and he knows it. And Jay Norvell having some success at Colorado State at times, and yeah, if Choate wins a couple games, has a nice couple seasons, you gotta somehow retain him. I don't know if he pops off that much. If he's gonna get some Power Five interest, then maybe that's hard to get him to keep him in the boat there. But if you're just getting lured away from another Mountain West Conference team, that's alarming. That's very frustrating for Nevada fans and the players there for sure. But I believe in Choate. I think he's put together a good staff. I think he'll get it done. I love his experience. You mentioned everything on the West Coast or in the west of the Mississippi. He's done a great job, and I think that matters so much when you're talking about relationships and just knowing the area, knowing the culture and the style of football there. With some Mountain West success there, he saw Chris Peterson really take Boise State to another level, and I think he hopes to do the same here with Nevada.